I'll tell you the thing that I am the most excited to learn from you today, Justis, is your media side of the business and how that complements your recruiting business. So can you tell me the story of going from sort of mainly cold calling to mainly digital marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what I would do is I would kind of rewind it and start at the macro level. From when I was with Hayes and even when I first started my own business, is as a recruiter, we typically do cold calling, and it's one-to-one, right? So I'll pick up the phone, I'll call Mark, he says he's interested in business or not, and we hang up, we do it again. And typically, when we're working with clients, we have somewhere in the range of 50 to 100 clients that it's a small circle, and we continuously call them for repeat business over the years. So what we did is we said, okay, so how are we going to become subject matter experts in our industry? And once we've demonstrated that, how do we get to scale that, right? So we started posting content online. And instead of going from one-to-one cold calling, it's one-to-many, 1 to 1,000, 1 to 10,000, 1 to 20,000 plus people. So what you're doing is you're actually just demonstrating what your subject matter expertise is. Instead of on the phone to people that already know you, you're doing it online to a larger population of people that do not know you, right? So we were at an interesting point in our business when we made this transition because we were, as many recruiters face a time in their lives where they're just sick of cold calling. They're hearing a lot of no's all the time, and it's easy to burn out that way. So I actually had this kind of like this epiphany or this hallucination one day when I was at the gym. I was on the Stairmaster. That's kind of my where I do a lot of my thinking. Is I thought to myself, how do we scale this business? How do we make it to a point where we're not just making phone calls, but we're actually talking to people online? And so we decided to take the plunge and hire a social media and content manager, Cass, who you met when we were in Atlanta. The funny thing about hiring our first employee, Cass, to help with this is I actually thought, Mark, that I'll hire her and I'm going to go from working 60 hours a week to, working 40 hours a week. I'll work less and she'll take over everything. The Canva, the Adobe, the video, the graphic design, all that. She'll just, hit the ground running. But as you know, when you hire an employee, you have to give them time. You have to give them that investment, right? And so what I actually found is I probably ended up working more hours. So I went from working 60 hours a week to probably the same 60 or 70 hours a week, still doing my recruitment, but also generating content with her. Now, when I talk about generating content online for scalability, though, I'm not just talking about video. I think there's many different forms of content that actually resonate with different audiences differently. So we do a lot of short form and long form written content. We post stills of each other where we will actually write copy and then post a picture of ourselves. So it's like people are scrolling on their phone, then they see a picture of me and some written stuff and they'll stop. So the scroll, stop. So we call that a scroll stop. There's also video that we do for our clients, right? So when we do a search, one of the nice things about construction for us anyways, and the advantage we have is that people like seeing time lapses and buildings being built. We have a bit of a visual advantage that way. So we go to sites, we go to site tours, we go to a lot of industry events, and we take video of that and we post it online. Now, it's interesting because once we started doing this stuff and posting it on LinkedIn, and we'll just keep it LinkedIn for today because to be honest, that's kind of really all we use. But we started noticing that a lot of people were leaning into our content. It was something different that they hadn't seen before. And when I say people leaning in, I'm talking both clients and candidates. Mm-hmm. So we were able to attract candidates to roles easier. And then clients started reaching out to us. So the amount of inbound business we started to get pretty quickly was actually pretty profound.
Amazing. So let me just break this down a little bit, Justis. So first of all, when was this?
So we started our business in 2021 and we brought Cass onto the team in 2022.
Oh, so it was pretty quickly you decided hey, this is the direction. It's going to be one to many. It's going to be digital marketing and content. And was Cass, and it was you and your wife initially?
Yeah, so it was me and my wife when we started the business.
Okay.
We did that together for about a full year, actually, before we brought Cass on board.
And was Cass your first employee?
Cass was our first employee.
Okay, this is super interesting because that is unheard of, to make a marketing person your first employee, right? And I've heard of, I've had people on here, maybe it was who are really forward-thinking marketing, and maybe it was their third or fourth or fifth hire or their 10th hire, right? But I've never heard of anyone who that was their first hire was content and social media. So that's what gave you the confidence to, because that's a pretty big bet that you placed on digital marketing. You know, what was going through your head when you made that decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. And when I brought it up to my wife and I said, listen, I have this kind of crazy idea, but I think it's going to work. She looked at me a little like kind of cross-eyed at first. She's like, why wouldn't we just add a 360 recruiter who can cold call and generate clients that way? Like, that's how recruitment companies work. She was from the industry as well, so she understood that part. And I said to her, well, if we hire another 360 recruiter, we have to train them or untrain them in their ways and train the way we like to do things. But what if we start putting content out online to drive inbound leads? Then it's kind of creating a sales funnel, right? It's also making people who would otherwise be cold into more warmer calls.
Yes.
We were also at a point too where a large real estate company locally here had sent out an RFP, like a request for proposal for recruitment services to 5 companies in the city. And they had saw that last year we opened up in construction and real estate. So they included us in the proposal. They narrowed it down to 3 for interviews and selected us as one of the 3. Now, I knew the other 2 companies that were interviewing to get those searches. What it was a 10 to 15 internal engineers that they wanted to hire, design and structural engineers for their team. So it was a big contract, like mid 6 figures. And I knew that the other 2 companies were going to have more resources than us, more employees, more recruiters, and they just would be able to have more touch points than us. When there's 15 engineers they need to hire, and the amount of phone calls I had to make, interviews I had to do, like to reverse engineer that, like mathematically, I don't think I was going to be able to do it. So we pitched them, hey, we will hire a content manager, we will tell stories, and we will scale this online so that other people are going to hear about your story. But also, more importantly, what we also said in that interview is the first hire you need to make is the top person, the VP, because when you hire a really, really good senior manager, other people and other engineers from other companies are going to want to follow you. So we started the digital transition because of that. That company actually ended up selecting us for that search. And it was great way to kind of just like a catalyst to get our company moving in terms of finances. So it helped with the ability to also hire social media manager as well. But it just kind of, I think, doubled down on the fact that we wanted to do that. We wanted to create content. We wanted to drive inbound leads. And it just turned out to be a really good idea. But you're right, Mark, like it was a big risk at first. And I think it was very different than the way other recruitment companies are operating. But that's what kind of made it attractive to us, is we wanted to do things differently. And also we wanted to have fun with it. One of the benefits to having Cass and the marketing department in our team is it makes things fun. When we're developing content, we're thinking about our searches differently. We're thinking about our clients in a different way. And I think that kind of brings the fun back into recruitment.